one. And welcome back to the basement.
Yay!
Yeah.
Huddle.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Hello, everybody.
Okay? Everyone all right? Everyone
I'm
feeling
feeling refreshed.
Everyone survive? All right, good. Good to hear. Let's introduce the panel. Lee George Cade is running the board today for Too Tall Tony, who is
Mr. Producer.
who is unable to make it today.
He is less tall, Lee.
Yes,
And I used to be the tallest guy
I
on
know.
the show.
Lee was called, Tony was called back to OA.
And last night I had to pull out my manual for producing.
I said that Tony was mopping up the mess he left at our press screening for Green Lantern.
He gave that movie his Oa face.
He did. Grimleys.com,
Gramleys.com. We can make anything.
as you can see on the Comcast there.
Yeah, we can make
I think
Hellboy.
some of those are copyright infringements, sir.
Well, they're custom, so we can call them tributes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So blow
Or
me.
parodies.
Blow me.
Call it a parody. Yeah.
It's a parody.
The pornos get away with that one.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, thank you. Brian Young, BigShinyRobot.com,
Hello, buy my book.
published author.
Buy my books.
I just wrote a porn parody of your book.
Lost it. Already. It's out
Yeah.
already. How
It's
about-
out already.
It's called Lost.
Yeah. You guys,
Moist at the con.
you guys heard all about it last week.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to reading it. Mr. B,
Yeah.
Shannon Barneson,
Internet terrorist.
internet terrorist, who is, I love this, drinking wine out of a Superman thermos.
Yeah.
Red wine.
Novelty-sized novel.
It's bold and douchey all at the same time.
I asked him if I could get him a paper bag to wrap around it. It would just seem more wino if you were to do that.
It's got Superman on
All
it.
right. Jimmy Martin, Jeff Weiss, big movie mouth off.
Yay.
Jimmy Martin writes for slugmag.com. You can hear him on Friday mornings.
U92 with Poetic C.
And Jeff Weiss writes for MSN, Parallel Universe.
Yes, and in this week.
And in this week now,
yeah.
that's his new gig.
Yep.
It's
A column called The Week in Geek.
Nice.
way to go, Jeff.
They seemed really happy with that. I'm like, wow, you're easily impressed.
They're
This is
so-
going to go really well.
I'll tell you about Amy. She's the easiest editor to please I've ever worked for.
Cool. Well, let's throw some really then.
It doesn't matter. Like
I plan
she'll
on it.
print anything.
Sounds good.
Yep.
She did a story on my company, so, obviously.
Let's challenge her. with a few things. Special guest geek today, professional geek. This is John from Avalanche,
Howdy ho.
a company here in town. They make the video games,
Yes, sir.
and John worked on Cars 2, and that's and Toy Story 3.
And Toy Story 3.
And he knows an awful lot about what's going on. Later, he's going to tantalize us with information about the Marvel MMO.
See that?
And how Max will not be
Sorry.
seeing his father for a while.
I've never seen Tony almost drop the board.
That was my erection.
He was so excited.
Yeah.
All right, let's get this going then.
Let's get this
Can
over with.
can I get this right at the top? Leave that lady alone on Sexy Women to Cosplay now.
Okay.
Yep. Please, yes, Order 69 has been
It is
rescinded.
so done.
Soldiers, stand down.
Yeah. Yeah.
I heard she wanted to give you an apology.
She sent me one.
She did?
Yeah, she sent me an apology.
But did she invite you back?
She tried, and I said, I don't care.
My wife, ever the voice of reason, pointed out how we would have reacted if someone had firebombed our
Right.
website.
Absolutely.
And I think it's great that she gave me an apology when if anybody owed anybody an apology, it was me.
Yes.
Because I up her Thursday
Oh,
night.
absolutely.
I don't know if anybody
wanted to
watched
go-
that.
You know what? She's writing, gosh, I wish I could go see Green Lantern. And instead I had to deputize viewers to come and help me get from Utah off my webpage.
Yes.
It was just,
I love that it was immediately the Mormons were blamed.
yeah. Well, it was
Because
just,
Mormons would go to a website and
was
say
say
nice.
it was so funny just to watch them all going, what's going on?
That's what
What's happening?
I was doing my signing for my book, and Jimmy shows up, and he's just watching his phone hysterically. And I'm like, what's going
That's
on? He's
all I
like,
could
it's
do.
Order 69, man. And I totally forgot, and he just started showing it to me, and it was so fun.
By the way, I'm going to pat myself on the back for being the first to fire the salvo. I was the first.
You got
I was
in first.
I was the first
Good
to
for
be
you.
banned.
Good for you, son.
Yeah,
I would
it
like
was
to
something
point
else.
out I was not banned through the entire ordeal.
I'm not banned.
I didn't do anything.
Even
I didn't
the-
either. I just watched.
I was asleep. I couldn't.
Even my fake character got banned just by association. I didn't
His
even.
name was Geek Show Guy.
No, it was Brian Hunter. It was that doll of Derek's that I made the Facebook page for.
And if there's anyone who enjoys the sexy women of cosplay, it's Brian Hunter.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's just go out. They put a lot of work into this, and they truly are some sexy women of cosplay. Some of those costumes are amazing.
Vagina.
Please don't. I mean, seriously, if you want to see, because come on, we're geeks, right? We like
Yes.
seeing hot women in superhero costumes, right? Right?
I do.
Well,
So go and enjoy it.
apparently you can't because she's not accepting guests. She's not accepting people she doesn't know anymore
So
for some reason.
your tantrum ruined a website.
It wasn't a tantrum. It was a prank.
And it's not a website; it's a Facebook
Yeah.
page. So
It's all the same.
And I apologized, she was actually really nice. When I would have, if that would have happened to me, I would have sent me a letter that said, "Fuck you! I'm gonna find you and kill you."
I guess what happened is she went back and listened to the show,
She did actually.
and I guess she felt sorry for you.
No, she was like,
As most people do.
no, she said,
Like you do.
what she said in her apology is like, "You're right. You didn't do anything to break our rules."
She was
and I
having a
shouldn't have
bad
been." And that's what she said. I was having a bad day. I was like, well,
Not as bad as
that
her
makes-
Thursday night.
that makes two of them.
well, let's be honest, Shannon. This isn't the first time that you've been the bad guy and the girl apologized to you for what happened. It's
true.
You're as
This is
good as
not the
Dick
first time.
Cheney. You
Yeah,
just shot her in the face.
Bitches love me.
All right, this is the first time we've had the whole panel together to talk about Green Lantern.
Well, minus the one. So, Shannon, you get to talk about Green Lantern without getting shit about yellow.
That's good.
Yeah, because if Pierce were here,
He would do.
he'd point out the color of your mic
I took
cord.
my number 2 pencil to the screening, and everything was. It was a blank screen. The movie wouldn't start.
You hear across the valley, Pierce is yellow.
Honey was all yellow. Let's see. I have some news about this defective Green Lantern display catching fire in comic book stores. If you're
Ryan Reynolds is too hot.
If you're a comic book store owner, you could spend $150 for a special Green Lantern animated light-up display based on the variant cover Green Lantern 50 art by Jim Lee and Scott Williams, but you really shouldn't. These displays are catching fire
That's so awesome.
In a bookstore.
in bookstores. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong there.
It says other comic book shops are reporting smelling smoke after plugging in their displays. And DC has now informed retailers to unplug the signs and await further instructions.
Maybe we shouldn't have outsourced that to China.
Step 1, toss in garbage.
Comic List had posted the original press release for the display. It arrived in stores at the end of April. The display lights up in 2 different modes, can run through a cycle, but yes, they are catching fire. So there you go.
That's the worst cycle, the one where it catches on fire.
So the new Green Lantern Corps oath is in brightest day and blackest night and through billowing smoke.
Do you really want to buy any displays from LexCorp, though? That's your first
Let's
mistake.
find out who made these. Probably was
And
someone
what you
like
want to
that.
do is turn off fire mode.
probably some stinking Eskimos.
Your new interactive Green Lantern display may be a little too interactive.
So let's hear it. Green Lantern, all of us. We read Jeff's review. He gave it 2.5
2
stars.
stars.
It was Jimmy gave it 2.5 stars.
Yeah.
And
I loved it.
I've seen. By the way, I should mention that I've seen it twice now.
I saw it twice,
yeah?
too.
oh,
Yeah.
I haven't seen it at all, and I loved it.
Still loved it.
You haven't seen it?
No,
Max has seen it.
Yeah, my family went and saw it without me.
I brought your douchebag family into that theater.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
well, now Max says that he swears he saw the Green Lantern I want to see, and that's
It's on
Chip.
Chip.
Is he there really?
In the rally scenes,
Yeah,
you see
I've heard that.
You see the back of his head at one point.
He's sitting on another dude's shoulder.
Somebody
Yeah.
needs to.
Screen
Seriously.
cap.
I need a screen cap. Yeah.
He's in there. I noticed in the 2D version as compared to the migraine-inducing 3D version.
Hey, there he is.
Do you want your spot back, Scott?
No. Why don't you sit down and we'll finish this up and
I'll
then
get through it.
we'll get to you because Brian has seen Green Lantern.
I
Now-
have twice.
Now it seems to be a film dividing geeks.
Yeah.
Oh God! Like
It
geeks are gonna
divided-
find things to argue
It
about.
divided
know.
me.
It divided you even.
It was. I had so much fun watching that movie, but it was so terrible. Like the script was just.
The script is
script-
abominable.
it-
It really is.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
The,
It doesn't
the
give.
score is nightmarishly bad.
It doesn't give any of the side characters any of the due they need to build a climax that's
Do they need to?
amazing. You know what? Kilowog and Toma Ray were in
Right.
a scene, and Sinestro, his entire thing is he floats from platform to platform talking to people and doing nothing.
or asking favors, or flying into action with a bunch of other Green Lanterns, and then when they all get zapped, he turns around and runs.
Well, see, my biggest
I'm
thing
like,
is
what? Seriously?
Well, he's laying
wonder-
the groundwork for his future evil.
Yeah, his future in yellow.
yeah, but see that the problem with this film is that there's no motivation behind the character's actions. I mean,
Motivation.
no, are you kidding me? When someone starts becoming a cry and heads back to Earth because the other Green Lanterns made fun of him.
See, no,
Really?
it's the difference between this was a fun movie, but it wasn't a great movie.
Right.
It's the difference between X-Men First Class and this movie, where X-Men First Class, it was fun, but it also had a very competent, tight, complex screenplay where all the characters were very properly motivated, and it made the difference between... I mean, I enjoyed Green Lantern, and I went and saw it twice, and it was even better seeing it with my kid because he absolutely ate it up.
And that, I'm gonna tell you, I liked it. I didn't love it. I really, really
You
liked
loved
it.
it Thursday night, though.
But
you were bubbly and giddy after.
no,
that.
I was
Yeah.
because it's the.
He was-
I
he was-
wanted
he
to
was
see.
also- he
I
was
just wanted to
also
see a
drunk.
Green Lantern movie. I was not drunk. I did not get drunk.
You would have liked it more if you.
I've wanted to see a Green Lantern movie since I was 7.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I got to see Green Lantern flying around in space. I got to see him doing ring. And the one thing that would have pushed me to love is if they would have cut out all the boring and Carol
Yeah,
and spent more time on Oa. I was like, what the hell? You have this cool. The coolest part of Green Lantern is that he's the part of this Green Lantern Corps. And why cut out the nephew too?
I
was
was
that?
so
And his-
worried
and his
about
Hot Wheels
Uncle
set.
Hal.
Well, no,
And-
it was frustrating because he went to Oa, he left as a crybaby, and he doesn't go back until he's like, wait a second, you got to give me a chance to save my world. And
After
they
I
should-
turn ta-
after,
turn
around.
yeah,
Yeah.
after I just threw a temper tantrum.
But why? I mean, and the training sequence was what? 10 minutes?
yeah.
I wouldn't even say that.
Yeah.
five-
and it's like,
5
okay, well,
minutes.
you flip me over with a rope on my head, you're ready. What the? You know, I mean, that training part he should have been getting
No.
trained by a bunch of different Green Lanterns.
Yeah.
You could have got to know better. And
So we could have had a montage.
Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
and-
As much as
and-
a montage can ruin a film,
An
that one
80s
needed
rock
it.
ballad.
It did, and there was a song they could have used that artists kept trying to get them to use in the movie called "Ring Capacity" by Kirby Crackle.
Oh, I thought you were
Would
saying.
have hit that scene perfectly, but no.
I just wanted. You're the best around. No one's ever gonna
Yeah,
bring
and-
you down.
basically, this movie really made me want a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no-
Where
It sets
Sinestro
up
has
one-
his yellow ring,
Gosh, how sad!
and there's
it
a
is.
big fight.
How
see, that's
sad
the-
is it for us though that here we are? What
Well-
is this? The 4th superhero movie of the summer, and it's.
Well, not.
We enjoyed it.
Well,
it
hang-
wasn't great, but we enjoyed it.
Oh,
it
no, it
wasn't
was-
Wolverine Origins.
Hang on, though.
It wasn't.
I want to go back to what you said, Shannon. You've been waiting for a Green Lantern movie since you were 8.
Yeah.
You got a Green Lantern movie,
Yeah.
and it really wasn't that bad.
No.
And also, you got to think about this. Again, I don't have a dog in
I'm
this
not,
fight
dude.
because I'm not a fan.
No, I'm
But-
not. I'm not complaining about the movie. I liked it. I'll watch it again.
But here's something else to think about. When you go into a Hollywood producer's office and say, I want to do a Green Lantern movie, the Hollywood producer looks at you immediately and says, okay, who's Green Lantern?
He's got a ring.
Yeah.
What do you leave out? What do you keep in? What do you... His origin is really complicated. It's not like you can pitch it to a guy with, like, Spider-Man. Bitten by a spider, has spider powers. Boom. Green Lantern... What is he?
He needs a nephew.
Well, first of all, let me ask, who is Green Lantern? When I say who is Spider-Man, you say Peter Parker.
But
Who is Green Lantern? Well, he was a
Hal
black
Jordan.
guy.
No, it's Hal Jordan.
I
Let's see.
think they could have done an origin story and done it competently where they could have weaved themes and like look at Magneto's origin in X-Men First Class. And that's I'm holding that up as a very competent, well-written screenplay. He starts Magneto's origin is essentially he's a mutant, but they fleshed it out in a manner that was way more complicated than Green Lantern.
James Bond.
And they started with the symbolism of like the coin, which played through the entire movie with importance, and it built up into the climax.
I would still say that Magneto's origin is not as complicated as Green Lantern's.
but
But you could break it down. You could say, okay, Green Lantern is a guy named Hal Jordan. He's
Okay.
made the first human member of an intergalactic police force, and their weapon that they use is a ring that kind of is magic and
Okay, where'd the ring come from?
spaceman.
Why green?
Willpower.
Because it is. Made it up in the 40s. You never read a comic book, you jerk off?
But
No, I'm a Hollywood producer. I don't know. Explain this to me.
Seriously.
Does he have a nephew?
Well, actually, okay. So his origin in the movie takes about 75 minutes to tell. Now, contrast that with Thor, a character that does a Hollywood producer know Thor?
A Hollywood producer, you can explain Thor a lot easier.
Well, I
than
mean, you can go ahead
Well-
and say he's a god of thunder.
Yes,
God of Thunder. He's from the God Land. Boom, there he is. Okay,
but why is he conflicted with his father?
because everyone has father issues.
Because he's unworthy.
Here's another one. You have to put in the father issues with Green Lantern too.
Why?
No, they added that.
Shouldn't have.
Because it explains why he is the way he is and why he was chosen. Why was he chosen? See, you see, it's just a complicated origin story.
it's not
They,
that
they,
complicated.
they,
I
they
think-
overcomplicate
They
it.
over-
Okay, well then
overcomplicated
what
it.
do you leave out in this movie? What part of the origin are you leaving out of this movie to make it streamlined?
Dad.
No.
And the
No.
nephew.
You're not listening.
Okay.
The problem with the explanation is they keep explaining the explanation.
Okay.
They explain it just fine once, but then they continue to explain it for the next 75
Well,
fu-
movie
minutes.
would have been
It repeats itself.
if they would have. I mean, they started out, I think, in the right place where it's out in space and you're watching Abin Sur try to deal with this threat. And I think they should have done more with Abin Sur and have them dealing with Parallax and deal with it as a much bigger threat and establish Abin Sur as a total badass that's completely irreplaceable. And then everyone thinks, and then bring Hal in halfway through the movie where it's like, oh, the entire universe is going to be destroyed because has the ring.
Yeah, it rests on this.
With the thing with his father, because he's a fighter pilot who died, you would think that he would have a fear of flying or he couldn't do it, something like that.
Well, he can't have fear.
Well, no, yeah, you can.
Otherwise, the ring wouldn't have chosen him.
But he has it. But
Okay, there's a flaw.
well, there's a flaw.
You have to have the capacity
He has
to
fear
Overcome fear.
to overcome fear.
All right, so
But-
you have to set up with the daddy.
So,
issues.
yeah, you can't.
All
No,
right.
because
You
I
can't
think
be
you
a giant.
You could go the human route because this is the first human that's
Yeah.
ever been chosen. So why could you not be like, I have so much responsibility on my shoulders because I'm the first human to have this responsibility. I'm scared. Why couldn't you have that? You don't have to have the whole dad backstory. I think it was a waste of time.
I think the responsibility is a much bigger motivating factor than my dad died in a plane explosion
In
20
a
years
really
ago.
hokey looking.
And he's still a
plane
great
explosion.
fighter pilot. Didn't really do anything to him.
Okay, so what else do we leave out? How do we streamline Green Lantern's origin for the
Carol
movie?
Ferris.
Well,
Yeah.
see, that was the other thing too. Is
Okay,
that
as a Hollywood producer, I will tell you right
Gotta
now.
have
I've
love interest.
got
Gotta have
to
love
have-
Okay,
I've
it
got
could
to
have
have a love
been. It could have
interest.
been. It could have been one of the members of the Lantern
And
Corps.
you know-
There's plenty of
Yeah.
hot chicks
You know what
in the
they're
Corps.
and you know what they're going to point out every single time. Spider-Man 2, 55% of the audience was female, and it was because of the love story, not because of Spider-Man. That's what they were going for,
Yes.
and so they're going to bring that up every single
you
time.
can have a love story. That's fine,
but
but
sure,
don't
but
waste
that's
half
what they're
the
going to
movie
bring
on
up.
it.
Oh, you need Mary Jane. She
That-
has to be in a third of the movie. at
That
least.
would have been so much more interesting is if he was falling for a female member of the Corps and she was rejecting his advances because he was inadequate
Well-
and all of this stuff
Well,
was.
then, as a Hollywood producer, let me ask you: are we going to upset the fanboys because of that?
no one knows who Ferris is. No one cares.
Well, then why should I make this movie? No one knows who Green Lantern is.
You're not.
Be-
the difference
because
is you're
superhero
talking
movies
to
are the flavor of the
you're
month.
you're talking to a different sort of Hollywood producer.
Okay.
The Hollywood producer who's looking at this is a Warner Brothers executive who owns DC and already owns the characters and says, "Hey, what was the biggest selling book last year? Green Lantern. Okay, let's go."
Okay.
And that's a different
Was Carol Ferris in
perspective.
those?
You also have to think.
Not
You go,
really.
okay, we've got our Supermans, we've got our Batmans. Who's next? Are we gonna do a Wonder Woman?
And it
Probably
was
not.
It was their response to Iron Man too. It was like, who Iron Man? We need to get in there. And
But Iron Man's easier to tell.
Absolutely. So
That's my point.
And I agree with you, which is why
Yes,
I
Pierce.
was sad when he was stabbed to death with the number 2.
Ah, we.
we knew it was coming. Here's where I think DC and Warner up. You shouldn't have done Green Lantern next. They should have done Flash instead.
Agreed.
his origin is easy.
He
a
runs really
homicide-
fast.
Well, he's a homicide detective. He gets struck by lightning in a crime lab. Bam, there he
Oh,
goes.
yes.
He runs really.
Duh.
So shouldn't they have done Star
it's-
Sapphire instead of Carol
Look,
Ferris?
here's the deal. DC's characters are all created in 1940.
Mm-hmm.
Their origins are get over it. How you like that?
Boom. There you go.
You know what I mean? It's like, and what I was saying is DC needs to go a different route. They can't. I think they should go the opposite route than Marvel's doing, where they're trying to make these
Human flawed.
important
Yep.
I'm not saying that they're bad movies, of course, but they're trying to make these. Let's get Kenneth Branagh and make it all Shakespearean and shit, and let's get Ang Lee to completely the Hulk. You know what I mean? But what they need to do, I think, DC needs to go the other way and say, let's make these movies for 12-year-olds.
Well, I think that's what they did with Green Lantern.
I think so too.
Now,
And I
John-
think the kids that were in my class that go see this movie,
Well, and that was my was I turned to two different groups of people that night after we saw the movie, because again, I don't have a dog in the fight. I turned to Tony. He's standing there in his Green Lantern costume,
Head to toe.
head to toe. You'd have loved it, Pierce. I've seen it. And I said, "This
His
movie."
yellow number 2 pencil
Yeah.
was showing.
I said, "This movie was made for you. What do you think?" He said, "Greatest movie ever." I went, "Okay, boom, there we go." I walked out past the swarm of
Angry geeks.
angry geeks who were,
Oh,
who
God,
were
yeah.
ripping a carcass apart with their teeth, and went and talked to a couple of kids, these 13, 10-year-old kids. There was like 3 of them. And I said, "No, were you fans of Green Lantern?" They said, "Well, we knew he was Superman's friend, and he was black."
From the Justice
Right.
League. cartoon.
Justice League cartoon, right? And I said, "Well, what did you think?" I mean, that was pretty much their exposure to Green Lantern. It was like, take me to right now. I want to get one of those things.
yeah, exactly.
So it succeeded
Yeah.
in the 2 places that it needed to.
That's where I really think, like, walking out with my son, like, he wanted me to take him to the comic book store right then and there
Yeah.
to buy more Green Lantern comics, which is something that the comics industry needs.
Mm-hmm.
They need stuff aimed at 12-year-olds to remind them that comics for them also.
I would also like to point out I've only read one Green Lantern comic in the last 5 years that got me excited. I mean, the character's hard to portray, it really is. I think it'd be hard to write. I think it'd be hard to make a movie of. You're talking about an interstellar cop with the power of imagination.
Well, and by the way, let me play the Hollywood producer for a second and tell you why DC's not going to go the complete kids route. Because kids' tickets cost less than adult admission.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying.
The adults
Not
got
in
to drag the
3D.
kid in there.
But that was actually one of my biggest problems with it, though, was the unbalanced tone of it.
Well,
you got-
I think here's the deal.
John has been reading Green Lantern since he was a kid. So.
Right. So I think Jeff Johns is doing an amazing job telling new Green Lantern stories right now. I think the movie really spoke to that sense of wonder to the 12-year-old. It really reminded me a lot of the same feeling I had when I was, 12, 11, saw Star
Exactly.
Wars for the first time.
Yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't as mind-blowing as Star Wars, so, don't get me wrong. But, I think you walked out of that theater, if you're 11 or 12, thinking, wow, that was amazing. And, that's how they aimed that film at.
And that's it could have been even more amazing if they would have spent more time on Oa, developing that side of it, and less on Earth, him being a weird baby.
Okay, now I'm going to make this prediction.
Okay.
There's probably more of that stuff. I'm making the prediction right now that there's at least 25 minutes of
More
a cu-
Oa.
of or more of a cut
for
that
DVD.
that Warner Brothers officials leaned over Martin Campbell's shoulder and went, "This can go, this can go, this can go. You
This
need
is
to
too
have that
weird."
because it sells Hot Wheel cars.
Yeah.
You can do this because it sells blah blah blah." I'm telling you that's if I had a real sense of what's wrong with Green Lantern, it's that it so clearly feels like the studio with it.
It does.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
It feels very choppy. I mean, there was parts where I thought that I had, drifted off for sleep for 2 minutes.
And I kind of disagree. I get the feeling, and again, I'm not real familiar with the character, but I've been doing some reading. I get the feeling that they were almost too much of a slave to the origin story.
You know what it reminded me
I
of?
don't
know?
I don't disagree there.
It reminded me of the last season of Big Love. No, you know how
they tried
where
to
they
smush
crammed
everything.
everything.
every episode you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
17,000 things just happened in this episode.
it's like one episode was handled in a sentence. Well, so and so did this. That would have been an episode,
Right.
but there it is. It happened off screen.
But that's kind of how I felt.
If you look at the screenwriting, again, I'm going to go back to X-Men First Class, just as much happened. That movie was shorter, and it was tighter, and more stuff happened in X-Men First Class, and it made more sense
it
because they
wasn't
had
a well-
competent screenplay.
it wasn't a well put together movie.
X-Men managed to cover the Cuban Missile Crisis. Yep. there's nothing simple about that.
Well, and it's going to get more complicated because after this,
X-Men's?
yes, Now that we've reviewed Green Lantern and chopped it up,
I'm just going to put this out about the strength of X-Men First Class.
Yes.
I saw that movie at a drive-in theater with drunk hillbillies rolling in, shining their lights on the screen.
Oh, I thought you were your family.
Oh, that's my family, bro.
Is Scott here?
I think he is. Yeah. He'll be
Yeah,
joining us in a moment.
I mean, seriously, there were enough distractions going on, and I still loved the hell out of this movie. So it was that good.
Yep. But by the
Are you drunk?
I know. He's,
All right.
he's drunk on his own importance.
I don't know, but I ran into your daughter last week at the bar, Scott. She says, "Hey."
So did
My daughter ran into Jimmy's wife, who asked her if she was old enough to be there, and then told her she looked 12.
You should have said.
I said, was she mean? And she said, no, she was really, really drunk.
Oh yeah,
right.
Lee, you should have said you ran into her repeatedly.
But by the way, the first numbers are in for Green Lanterns Friday.
Yeah. Well, this is a week or so afterward,
but it looks like it's on track for about a $56 million opening.
will there be a sequel?
Anyone?
I think so.
There won't.
If it stays strong.
There won't with those numbers.
I heard they have about
you
70.
know what's frustrating about it is that it's so much better than Pirates of the Caribbean 4.
Of
No,
course
I'm
it is,
not.
Brian.
No. I'm not kidding though. I mean, like, it was Pirates of the Caribbean 4 was boring the whole way through. This movie had moments of excitement in it. The kids loved it. Like my kids were bored through Pirates of the Caribbean.
mostly because their dad was screaming.
No,
Wait, Brian, I thought you liked Pirates 4.
You did, Jimmy?
I thought you were a big fan of it.
I don't know where you got that impression. Jack Sparrow's No. I mean, the thing is that Pirates of the Caribbean 4 is going to make a lot more money, and it's not as good. And Green Lantern, I think, deserves more money than Pirates 4.
Well, Hangover 2 made more than any of the other superhero movies so
was-
far, and it's a
So what are we saying? That movie audiences are idiots?
Yes.
Okay.
So where are we going?
We're gonna take a break.
Yay!
After these
messages, we'll be right back.